I'm helpless when I'm ocean
Okay, thanks so much to everyone for joining us tonight and today. We are excited to have you with us for the official high quality connection card launch. As not everyone who is interested in this project is able to attend at this particular time, we are going to record the session and make it available to you and others afterwards. We request that you do the normal virtual meeting etiquette reminders, mute, use chat to comment. You're going to get plenty of opportunity to ask questions. We're just really, really excited to have you all here. In today's session, we're going to break it into about 6 different parts. We're going to have introductions, talk a little bit about the cards themselves, have the official launch, give you some uses. How can you apply these? Of course, how to buy them. And then we hope to have time at the end that we can answer your questions, as many as possible, right? So let's begin with introductions. Marcia, would you like to go first?
Sure. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Marcia Ryan. I am the founder of Wellbeing Works. I am based here in Melbourne, Australia, and I work with leaders and organisations to create positive change, and part of that is helping people build high quality connections. I started off thinking about these cards when I was completing my capstone as part of my Masters of Applied Positive Psychology at the University of Melbourne. And that's where I really started finding out a bit more about high quality connections. And since then, I've been playing with them and using that concept with many people. And it's absolutely delightful that Mary and I have got together and moved that concept into this wonderful deck of cards.
Thanks, Marcia. And I'm really glad you asked me to join you with this project. This has been a blast. And I look forward to many more. I'm Mary Cecanese. I'm owner and principal consultant of Dynamic Connections, LLC. I have had the privilege of disseminating Jane's work on high quality connections for almost 13 years now. It's just been an absolute joy and such a privilege. I've worked at the University of Michigan for almost 32 years, which is how Jane and I have connected. And we are so, so honored to have Professor Jane Dutton with us. She's the Robert L. Kahn Distinguished University Professor Emerita of Business Administration and Psychology here at the University of Michigan. As the originator of high quality connections, we couldn't do this without her. Thanks again, Jane, for being on the call, for sharing your life's work with us and providing information we could then build upon and apply to create these high quality connection cards. We believe they will be beneficial in not only work settings, but also personal and group settings. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. For those of you who do not know about high quality connections, let me give you a brief description. These are micro moments, or what we call brief interactions, that light us up and energize us to move forward and take action. They may last for only 1 second, but can change both participants for the rest of the day. There are 4 pathways to building high quality connections, and you're going to hear this a couple times from us. These are trust, respectful engagement, task enabling, and play. The high quality connection cards provide strategies for each of these pathways, along with tactics or ideas for you to try out and apply when you interact with others to foster high quality connections. The cards comprise instructions. We've got somebody here we need to mute, I think. There we go. All right, so we've got, as I said, we've got 5 suits of cards, and I'm sure you're wondering, why 5 if there's 4 pathways? Well, we do have the 4 pathways: trust, respectful engagement, task enabling, play. We're calling it social play, and toxicity tamers, which we'll explain in just a second. Each suit has several cards, as you can see on the screen as an example. Each card has one strategy on the back, along with numbers of ideas of how to apply and try that out. So Jane, we're going to turn to you now. Since you previewed the cards, why do you think they're important? And specifically, why right now?
Yeah, first of all, let me say how exciting this is to watch Marcia and Mary bring this to life. I just have to say, I think I was a matchmaker in a former life. And I think one of the things I do well, which I love, is connecting people and seeing what happens. And it's just been a blast to watch this. When they had this idea, almost a year ago, I think, about creating this, I thought it was a wonderful idea, just because I have found that if people have material objects to work with, and it actually, I think, activates people's imagination and sense of possibilities more than if they're just working in their head. So that was sort of an abstract pedagogical idea, thought about why I thought this was a good idea, never knowing what was going to happen in our world and that we've been living with in the last 6 months, where really it has been such a challenge of disconnection, where, again, what we're living in right now in this meeting is a good example where COVID, the pandemic, has really made physical distance very real, and therefore made social connection more challenging. So I think the more things we can have at hand individually, but also the more that we can provide to other people as a way for them to build connection, it just could not be more timely. The other thing, and maybe this is again more right now, it's just particularly acute in the United States, with all of the racial disconnect and the importance of being able to connect across difference. I think that puts also a sense of urgency and criticality about building our connection competence, both as individuals, but also thinking about how can we lift up the collective competence of groups that we're part of, or whole organizations that we're a part of, in terms of their capacity and ability to connect. So I think the more tools that we can put in people's hands, the better off we're all going to be, if we can be, more intelligent, the way people talk about it, more socially and emotionally intelligent by being better connectors. So the time is just right.
Thank you so much, Jane. And you're right. We're spending a lot of time on Zoom calls, and seeing a smiling face can make the difference between an energy depleting meeting and an energy enforcing meeting. As social creatures, we crave interactions and have had to invent new ways to have them during the coronavirus pandemic. The HQC cards help to spark the conversation needed to increase and enhance the connections we're now having. The cards help people stay connected and keep working on the quality of those connections.
I'm going to show you the cards now. So this is the deck of cards. We're very excited. We think they're absolutely of high quality. And inside the pack, we have 44 cards. And with the cards, so they're about this size. And we have instruction cards. So there's a number of cards there that will tell you about what are high quality connections, why they're important, and some ideas of how to use them as an individual use and as for group use. Mary talked about the 5 pathways, and so we have pathway cards. So pathway cards will describe what is that pathway, what does it mean. So respectful engagement is about being attentive to others. And you'll see that we also use some symbols. So we know the blue cards are always respectful engagement cards. We then have a series of strategy cards. So there's a range of blue cards that are respectful engagement cards, and each has one idea, one strategy. So this one is to recognise effort. And that strategy, you could just talk about that strategy or spark a conversation around that if you're working with a group. So what does it mean to recognise effort? How well do we do that now? What could we do to make it better? Or it could be used as a self-development, self-awareness tool. I place them quite often on my desk as a reminder to say, this is my focus for today. I'm going to share good news with people when I interact with them. And on the back of each strategy card, if you want some practical tactics and actions, then we have 4 ideas on the back of each card to get you started. So they're very tangible, practical actions you can put into place immediately during your interactions. They're really intended to be used as an intentional focus. So if you want to have make an intention to focus on a particular aspect of how you want to connect with people, you can select a lucky dip and take any one of the cards out of the hat, or you can say, no, today I really would like to make more effort on being more engaging and respectful in the way I interact with people. So I'm going to focus on using that strategy cards instead as a key focus. So we're going to talk about different uses for them, but they are some ideas I want to share with you about their possible use. So I'll just get back to sharing a screen. Mary, have you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Fantastic. So some of the card uses, I know the people on the call will be from a whole range of backgrounds and working in a whole range of contexts. And so we have started thinking about how could you use these cards in your context? And we've certainly used them already in different ways. So you could use them as a coaching tool. If someone is wanting to identify strategies and actions to help them achieve their goal. You could use them as a teaching tool to help teach people about different ways to create meaningful connections. And Mary, you had an idea of using one of the cards. For example, there could be a situation where someone in the group is having some concerns or issues. And so as a group, the leader could, in an educational setting, use one of the cards which is be attentive. And that could spark conversation about how could we be more attentive? What actions can we take to assist the person in our group that needs that attention and support? I've used them lots in facilitated workshops with adults and in work places. They're a great tool for speed connecting. Jane, you often talk about the first moments matter. And so they're a great tool to go and greet someone and have a conversation, a brief conversation, and start off strong when you connect with someone. They're great for group discussion, witness reports. What I mean by that is you could choose the topic, recognise effort, and you share stories about where you've witnessed someone in your team or recalled that occurring. So it's sharing good stories about where you've witnessed someone demonstrate this high quality connection strategy. It might also be useful for having some team tactics as to selecting which of the cards would you like to focus on as a team, because they're really important for your team to amplify the connections. I've seen managers have coaching conversations around ways to improve and amplify the quality of how they connect with people at work. So they're a great coaching tool for managers. I've also seen teams use ideas. So this one is one of my favourites that people in my team use, share good news. So we have a daily stand-up with about 20 people from around Australia dial in each day. And the first thing we all share is one win from yesterday. We share one good news. No matter how small that win is, we share it. And so that's another way to interact in positive ways and implement that as part of meetings. And then you can certainly use it as a self-development tool, just as a personal self-awareness, intentionally focusing on a particular thing, considering what you might do next time in your interaction, or as I said, a lucky dip, pick any card and make that your focus for the today. So we could certainly use them in remote or virtual situations or face-to-face interactions. For some of us, we're not able to have face-to-face interactions, or many of them in COVID situations. So this is where we're trying to get more creative. And you can see today we're already sharing these tools virtually. Even though they're a physical tool, we can still play with them in a virtual way. So just looking at that, Mary and I might do a very brief example of how they could be used. And we're going to have a coaching conversation where I am the organisational coach and Mary is my client. And Mary, thank you for joining me today. You've shared that your development goal is to focus on amplifying the way you connect with your colleagues during virtual meetings, because recently, due to COVID situations, you're feeling a bit disconnected. So I'm just wondering, is that still your goal?
Oh, most definitely. During virtual meetings, I hope everyone feel they're part of the team, and I would certainly feel energized and excited if we could do that.
Okay, thanks, Mary. So I wanted to share something with you that might help you connect with your colleagues when you're working virtually. So from what I'm hearing, you telling me, I believe that respectful engagement might be one of the pathways that you want to focus on to build high quality connections. So I've sent, in preparation for this conversation, I've sent the cards to you. And so I want you to open up the blue section, the blue cards, the blue deck, and they're the respectful engagement deck. So if you get those out, you might find a card called Make the First Move. That's the one, Mary.
All right. Oh, cool. I like this. Be proactive and take the first step inviting connections to occur during your workday. You know, as you mentioned, trying to do this first thing in the morning with your team or anybody you're working with, or even colleagues that you want to connect with, taking a few minutes in the morning just to do that so that you have a little time together that's not all work. It can be more humanizing. And I see another one here that I'm really excited about called Remove Distractions. Oh my goodness. It would be really helpful in some of our meetings if maybe we could just tell people, we're only meeting for 30 minutes. Can we ask that everyone put their cell phones away for just these 30 minutes so that we can accomplish what our goal is as a team? These are great, Marcia.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So as you can see in a coaching conversation, Mary's got a number of strategies and some very tangible actions to take away to help her reduce the feeling of being disconnected during virtual meetings. And she can share those ideas with her colleagues also. So they're just some ways we want to share ideas with you about how to use the cards. So even though you haven't seen the cards and all we've done is show them to you on the screen here a little bit, we are starting to think that we are sure that in your context, and we don't always know what your context is, but I'd like you to, in the chat box, start thinking about and sharing how might you use the high quality connection cards in your context. So imagine you've got a deck of cards, they've got strategies on them, there's 4 or 5 pathways to discuss, and the purpose of it is how can we amplify the way we connect, the way we interact with people during the day. We'd love to hear how you might use the high quality connection cards in your context.
So Jane, would you like to jump in here for a second with us, please, and tell us any ideas or suggestions that you think might be helpful?
I just put one in the chat, but right before I got on this call, I was on a call with a woman who wanted some ideas about how to redesign meetings. She's zoomed out, her team is zoomed out. And I think that you can think about infusing routines that we do in organizations, like how we onboard someone or how we have meetings, and taking the cards as just as stimuli for kind of thinking, how do I redesign that routine so I infuse it with the possibility of building high quality connections. So that's one thought I have. How could you use them to redesign meetings?
That's fantastic. And we have people writing in the chat. This is great. Richard wrote about training coaches. He thought this might be a good use of the cards. To another person, Jane wrote in that to use them for designing and redesigning meetings. Okay. Roz wrote in, coaching to improve high quality connections equals belonging. Fantastic. Janine mentions great for networking in the business women's group I'm involved with. Oh, what a great idea. All right, and from Charlene, I work with faculty development, and these would be helpful for discussion groups. That's what we're hoping for. Hillary writes, for kids, choose one for a daily family challenge. Oh, I love that.
That's a good
We certainly, I have friends that are educators, and they've certainly got ideas of how they can use them in their classrooms. They also, even in the high quality connections community of practice, there's been ideas how to use them, and having a corner or a high quality connection chair or bench with the cards sitting on them, you know, that's an invitation. When you sit on this chair or this bench, you're welcome to start a conversation, and having the cards there would be another way to have topics to talk about.
Absolutely. JP, I can't see you, but thanks for joining. I'm so excited that you're here. And he used those, he said he thinks that using them for train the trainer would be a good idea to teach coaching or about change management. Great. Betsy writes, helping student teams and classes be more high performing. Love it, Betsy. Steph writes, icebreakers at the start of a meeting. Oh, for sure.
Oh, look, these high quality connectors are sort of buzzing with ideas at the moment, and the chat is going crazy. It's almost like trying to be a newsreader and not being able to keep up with the teleprompter. And so for those who are asking, like, oh my gosh, how can we capture all these ideas? Mary and I will certainly be collating these ideas and sharing them with this group, as well as the slides post this launch. So yes, we will certainly keep focused.
That's great.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. So Marcia, do you want to bring up the slide on?
Yes, I will certainly share my screen again. I was just so caught up in the chat there that I need to get back to my job of being the presenter and go to the next slide. And Mary, yeah, we've talked about the cards, we've got them ready, and if you want to purchase them, we need to let people know about how to do that.
Absolutely. You have two choices. You can go to my website, which is dynamicconnectionsllc.com, or you can go to Marcia's website at www.wellbeingworks.net.au. And just for this week, if you would like to purchase cards, you can get them for a 10% discount using the word launch. Okay? All right.
And also, so I think they cost $25 US if you purchase them in the States, and the conversion for Australian, if you purchase them in Australia from our website, they're 37 Australian dollars. So jump on there and order, and there's a bit of a shipping charge, of course, to add to that, but we should be able to get them out to you, and we're getting really excited that when you do receive them and you start using them, we would love to hear again how you are using them. Certainly in part of our high quality connections community of practice, we share ideas of how to build high quality connections. So if you're using these cards, join us in that Facebook group, HQC COP, for more ideas.
So, Marcia, you saw that several people suggested virtual cards would be good. So that may be your Cards 2.0, HQC Cards 2.0 would be virtual.
Correct, correct. So we might open up for some questions now. So pop them in the chat and we'll answer. We've got some time for some questions before we close up today. So I'm just going to close this down because for some reason I'm struggling to see the chat while I present. There it is, I can see it, yeah. So the answer to the online, yes, we don't have that yet. Our initial launch is they are a physical pack of cards. I've used lots of packs of cards while presenting. I have wellbeing cards, resilience cards, strengths cards, and as a facilitator, just having a physical product is really helpful to use. So at this stage, we have the physical card deck, and yes, it will be lovely in the future. Maybe cards 2.0 and 3.0 will continue on if there is a need for that. So thank you. Can you show us a few more cards, please? Yes, yes, indeed.
Marcia, I've got one up here. This is one of the toxicity tamers, and it says reduce exposure. So if you're around someone who's toxic, the strategy is reducing exposure, and the ideas are on the back. And then I have the wonderful social play one called Boost Positivity, with ways to make your day be a little brighter as well as those around you.
Yes, so the cards, the colours at the top represent the different pathways. And if I show this card here in the instructions, the cards have a different set of colours. So we've got green cards are trust cards, blue for respectful engagement. If you want to focus on task enabling strategies, you use the orange cards. And if you want to spark energizing social play and be playful in your interactions, and you use the yellow cards, and the black cards are for toxicity tamers. Would love to hear an example of a toxic tamer. Yes, so I think we just did that, reduce exposure.
And I'd like to draw one more thing on that, because people have not seen, you know, high quality connections. It's possible they've seen the pathways. But on the back of reduce exposure, some of the ideas are, for instance, as you would expect, reduce the amount of direct contact with that person, spend less time thinking about the relationship, set healthy boundaries to put your well-being first. So those are the types of things that you find on the back of the cards, okay?
And I've also found that we thought the toxicity tamers are really important to include, because as much as we love teaching people and helping people build high quality connections through the 4 pathways, quite often the first thing I get is I'm more concerned about my low quality connections. I'm more concerned rather than amplify the high quality connections, how do I navigate low quality toxic connections? So it's really important that they're included in the cards. I'd also think, you know, if there is the toxic connections, then one way is to also use the other 4 pathways to amplify it, to resolve it, and to move it more towards a high quality connection, as well as the 5th pathway, the toxicity tamers.
Oh, we have a question here about how many cards are there in a pack. There are 44 cards. 11 of them are instructions, suggestions, the cards that identify each of the suits of the deck that Marcia showed you. So there's 33 actual high quality connection cards. But we didn't want to just give you the cards with no ideas about how you can use them. You are coming up with tons of them, but we wanted to make sure that we supplied you with some. And someone else
I've also worked out, I thought that might be a question that come up, and I was doing the math in my head. And so even though there's 33 strategies, each has 4 tactics. So I've worked out it's about 120 ideas to put into action. So we know that you have a lot more ideas, but they are 100+ ideas to get you started to actively focus on different pathways to building high quality connections.
And we have another question here that we may be brainstorming on afterward, Marcia. Um, let's see, Irene writes, are particular topics referenced on cards if anyone wants to delve deeper? So we do have references that we are using and have used to create these, and they are included with the instructions. But you're also making me think that maybe we need to have a series that is focused on delving a little deeper. We'll just have to put our heads together on this one.
Yeah, but I would have to acknowledge right here that you know, a lot of the work that has been done by Jane and JP and Emily and all the people who have researched high quality connections, it is their work that we have built upon to turn into some tangible ideas. So if you're wanting to delve deeper, you would certainly go back to the work of those researchers. And, you know, one of my favorites, Jane, is your Energize the Workplace workbook, because it's full of more deeper information there.
Fantastic. Wow, we already have people ordering, Marcia.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to get distracted. My store is just going a little bit crazy here. So I'm glad everyone's taking advantage of the 10% offer. So yes, look, Mary, I think I'm feeling it's almost impossible to answer all questions here in this time, but we will certainly make sure after this that we share the ideas. If there's any questions that we can put into a frequently answered FAQ series, we will send those back to you. So if there's any particular questions, we'll reach back to you and also share that with the rest of the group.
Marcia, could I also say, like, it might be helpful, I know you have the Facebook connection page here, but I feel like that could be a place where people share stories of their use of the cards and that kind of thing that might activate even more possibilities for people.
Correct, yeah. So that is really one way that I think we as a group can actively contribute back to that group and share, if you are using the cards, what's your stories, what are you finding, how are you using them? So it's not just the people who are on this call, but you know, there's almost 500 people in that community that would be absolutely thrilled if you shared your story with how you're using them.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. We could take one or two more questions if you have them, or ideas. Whoops, somebody's having trouble with the promo code not working.
Well, it's exceeded times that can be used. I didn't know that could occur.
Yeah,
All right.
I didn't know that.
We're going to have fun with this, but don't worry, we'll sort something out. So yeah, we'll definitely sort something out. That's you know, if the worst thing happens today, that the stores you know, have break down, that just gives us a sign that we're very thankful that people can see practical ways for using this practical tool.
Absolutely.
So Mary, I am aware of the time, and I always have lots of joy if I can give people back time. I think that's another really way to amplify the quality of We Connect, is when someone gives me back 5 minutes in my day because a meeting may have finished early or we haven't run over time. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. Mary, maybe you would like to close us out, and as you can see on the final slide here, please stay in touch. If you'd like to get in touch directly with Mary or I, our emails are on there, and certainly go to our websites. And Jane, you're there as well. Please reach out to any of us and get in touch.
I'm a cheerleader. I'll cheer everybody on with respect to this.
And honestly, if you have trouble with ordering, okay, just email one of us. We'll get you squared away. Don't worry, okay? So we want to thank you so much for participating in the official launch of the High Quality Connection cards. We're grateful for the time you've taken to be with us for this launch, and we sincerely hope you will let others know about the HQC cards by sharing in your social media posts, as well as your interactions with others. Don't forget to take advantage of the launch offer and grab your discount. You can also share it with your network so they can also get the launch discount for the next 7 days. We hope these cards will be a valuable tool you can add to your toolkit as you influence those around you to create positive relationships, positive institutions, positive workplaces, and positive communities. Please stay connected with all of us. We will make sure I have everybody's email address. We'll make sure you get the presentation. We'll make sure that you get whatever we can offer you. We're going to be sure to get it out to you. All right, Marcia, you want to close us up?
Yes, thank you, everyone. We're absolutely thrilled. Thank you, Jane, once again for joining us. We couldn't have done this without you, so we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate everyone's time and support for joining us here today. So goodbye to my high quality connectors out there. Stay safe and stay well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm out to find an ocean wave.